Atelier is one of the most anticipated games by many, especially in the cozy game genre. Not only are its beautiful visuals and cute chibi characters captivating, but the gameplay itself also provides an overall feeling that suits this type. This series welcomes both the old fans and newcomers alike. Now, for those who have been wondering whether this is the right cozy game for you to play this month, let's find out. I wanted to note that I'm not particularly a fan of Atelier series, but I played Nelke and the legendary Alchemist, Ateliers of the New World, as well as Atelier Rise 2, Lost Legends, and the Secret Fairy. These recent Atelier games are very different compared to the previous ones. Not gonna lie, I truly love the visuals, and the character in this game are super adorable. Given the title, Atelier Mari is a remake of Atelier Mari the Alchemist of Salver, which was released way back in 1997 in Japan. I haven't played the old one, so I cannot compare it to the recent one. I just wanted to point that out. It was developed by Koei Tecmo Games, which is a big company that has been releasing a bunch of games and publishing their own games as well. Some of their games have received very positive reviews on Steam, many of which I honestly really love. Atelier Mario Remake is a relaxing RPG and JRPG with a touch of fantasy, turn-based combat, and a mix of 3D and 2D graphics. It is a story-rich game where you play as a female protagonist trying to pass the exam to become an alchemist. You'll learn various items to brew while you're helping your friends and townsfolk. Mind you, this is a spoiler-free review video. I am only going to provide you with a little bit of information, but enough for you to know what Atelier Remake is all about and whether this is the right game for you. Atelier Mari is a pretty straightforward game where you can choose to play in either normal or endless mode, which we will discuss later on. As I mentioned earlier, you can craft or brew items in your cauldron, but for most of them, you will need to learn the recipes. Many of the items can be easily missed if you are not attentive enough. I want to mention that time is a significant aspect of this game, with days, months, years, and seasons passing. Your goal is to learn as many items as you can and brew them within the time limit of 5 years in normal mode. Gathering materials is crucial, and this is where the concept of days becomes important. Each time you gather materials or travel to certain places, it costs a day or more. You must learn how to manage your time efficiently in the game, as some materials can only be gathered in specific seasons. Additionally, there are events in the game that will prompt you beforehand. If you are thinking of playing this game because you want something cozy, where you can just be an alchemist, brew your potions, and do jobs for your friends and townsfolk, I must say that it can be a bit stressful, especially if you are playing in normal mode. Stress arises when you have to manage your time, figure out the days before the events happen, or simply do jobs for the townsfolk. The 5-year time limit passes so quickly, and I literally finished this game within 2.5 days. Not to mention, at the beginning of the game, I got really stressed out because I missed some events and jobs I was working on while gathering materials for those particular jobs, leading me to reload multiple times. Perhaps it's just me, as I was expecting the game to be relaxing, but the stress of managing my days got the best of me. However, don't let this discourage you from considering trying out this game, because this stress is mainly present in normal mode. There is also an endless mode where you don't have to worry as much about the time limit. Although certain events will be locked for you, I do want to remind you that despite having fewer restrictions with the time, you'll still have some parts with a time limit when it comes to the jobs that you take. Despite all of this, I did enjoy playing this game. Now, let us talk about the combat. It's pretty simple and easy to understand, and you can speed it up to finish the combat faster. However, you don't have the ability to control what Mari and her friends are going to use. These tactics are very useful against common enemies, but when you fight a boss, I wouldn't recommend this type of approach. One of the things I love is when I spot an enemy, giving me the option to avoid them or prepare myself to have an advantage in the first round of the combat. This is a big plus for me, not only in that aspect but also because the monsters themselves are very cute and each monsters have their own skills. Some of them are harder to defeat, but that might be because you haven't met that certain level requirements for that particular area. So be very mindful of that, as it could lead you to die, lose days, and some of your equipped items, especially reducing your friendships with your companions who have been with you. If you are still watching this video, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you are enjoying our content so far, please know that your likes and comments on this video will help us get into the algorithm and enable us to share this video with others. Also, feel free to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you will be notified every time we upload something new. Talking about the companions, yes, you can have multiple companions that you can choose throughout the game, but in this part, they are more like hired companions. As usual, in the Atelier series, you befriend these companions by either helping them with tasks they ask you to do or going on adventures with them. The higher your friendship level with them, the easier it becomes to hire them. You will also unlock some events specifically for each character. I highly recommend trying to befriend them, but that's all I'm going to say regarding this. As I've mentioned above, this game is pretty straightforward and the story itself is not something that will stick with you for a very long time, but it's enough to keep you playing. I wish there were more to say, but apart from the characters, you get to know them, learn their backstories, and try to learn as many items as you can within the 5-year time limit to become an alchemist. Sadly, that's all I can say, but I'm going to repeat it again and again. I do enjoy playing this despite getting frustrated in the early hours of the game. I don't have anything against the controls. They are pretty easy to remember and there is no confusion compared to other games that had some bad ports. Not to mention, this game has very simple controls. However, when it comes to Steam Deck, it is not yet verified, and if you are planning to play this game only on Steam Deck, you may not have a smooth experience as the game runs mostly around 28 to 30 FPS. Despite that, I am pretty sure they will release a patch soon specifically for Steam Deck users. Do we already know why you want to try out this game? Well, of course, it's because of how beautiful the visuals are and how pleasing the game is to look at. You cannot avoid noticing the cute animation in this game. Everything is so gorgeous, from the characters to the monsters and the world itself. It gives you a straight fantasy vibe. The dialogues are all in a visual novel style with beautifully drawn anime characters. Each characters look distinctly different from one another, making them uniquely special. Their transitions in the 3D space resemble the characters but are slightly different due to their chibi form. I am honestly impressed by the quality of sound and the level of detail of sound effects in this game. It feels polished and rich with beautiful ambient sounds during conversations and throughout combat. The voice actors deliver compelling and believable performances despite the fact that it was completely voiced in Japanese. I generally prefer it to be like this, especially if they are anime. However, this might be a problem for those who prefer dubbing and doesn't want to read subtitles. The music in general is very lively and feels fresh at the same time. However, I couldn't find a particular piece of music that stood out for me. This game really brings back old memories for many, some good and some bad. Now let us talk about the cons in this game. Remember when I said I finished this game within 2.5 days? Well, because you can finish it within 10 hours. As I've said, the story is very simple. Since this is a remake, be aware that the main story hasn't been changed from the original. It still holds the classic story with updated visuals and improved gameplay. Don't expect the same level of details you'd see in other famous remakes, but it is great to see this franchise get the love it deserves and be brought to newer platforms. If you are the type who love to explore areas, this might put you off, as some areas feel a lot smaller than I was hoping and there is not much to explore, making exploration feel somewhat bare and limited. Despite this criticism, I can say that a lot of love and attention to details has been placed in the world, refreshing the look and bringing it up to par with newer titles from this franchise. I honestly wish there was more to explore, like dungeons and hidden areas to make exploration more interesting. Companions feel a bit fleshed out, lacking more depth in befriending them. Combat elements where they could easily participate in combos to aid you are non-existent. Although I understand this is a remake of the old title and my expectations might be a bit off the chart since the old game did not include this, still, these quality of life elements would have enhanced this title a little bit in my opinion. The variety of monsters is pretty limited and I really wish there were more. I also wish there were more areas to unlock, to be honest. The lack of a calendar in the game makes managing your time and days a bit more difficult as I'm used to monitoring and checking the calendar in such games. For a new player to this franchise, it might feel a bit confusing since it's harder to keep up with what's going on with the overwhelming jobs and events you have to do in a timely manner, even though you are prompted that the event or job will end before it happens, although it would be nice to be able to check beforehand. Despite my criticism I have for this game, I still think it's a lot of fun and I personally recommend playing it in endless mode. If you are the type of player who doesn't mind missing out on events and prefers just a little bit of challenge when it comes to time limit, I do want to warn you that it is not as relaxing as you expect it to be. So if you don't mind it, then you won't have any problem with this and you will have an enjoyable time playing this game. However, if you prefer the normal mode, expect to feel pressured and stressed during the first hour and the last months before the exam. If you haven't played the original, picking this game is a great start to the franchise. With limited and less complex gameplay elements, you will have an easier time getting used to the world, characters, and gameplay this game has to offer. For those who have played the original, you might enjoy this game and appreciate the return to the classic as many remakes carry a sense of nostalgia that we all appreciate. Despite its simplicity, short and straightforward story, and overall gameplay, you can't neglect the fact that this is a decent remake that many will enjoy. As for my review, I'd like to rank this game as good and believe it is a perfect game to start this wonderful franchise. So what do you think about the game? Have you considered playing it? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Note that I replied to all my comments. If you like this type of content and want to see more, I've covered other games in the cozy realm, so check them out. My most recent one was Wildflowers, which I highly recommend checking out. You can support us on our journey to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing to our channel and liking this video for the algorithm to bless our channel. That being said, thanks for watching. As always, stay safe, take care, and happy gaming.